My 26 female, mom passed away at childbirth, so it was pretty much my father, 50, and me, with the occasional visits from my grandparents, from both sides. Since I lived with just him, I took on a more masculine style and likings, like one of the boys, but the only boy was my father. I was Rexy, for T-Rex, because I was obsessed with him for years. I had no Barbies. He bought me a few, but I was like, ew. And I had almost zero dresses or skirts. He also did my hair really awful every time. When I was around 12, he began dating this woman called Maria, who had a daughter, 15 at the time, named Stacy. While Maria was a total sweetheart, Stacy was horrible. She bullied me for not looking like a girl should do, for liking man stuff, like cars, bikes, and stuff like that. I have to admit that I also didn't have many friends while growing up, neither female or male, so my person was my dad, and as I grew up, I got involved with what he liked. To make things short, Stacy would often throw awful comments about me being a boy, a weirdo, etc., and my dad would make these same comments in a less bully way, but they hurt me more because he was confirming that while Stacy was his daughter, I was his son. What broke my heart was that he called Stacy Peach, like Mario's princess, while I was T-Rex. I did a 180 in my looks at 15. I brought dresses and skirts and dyed part of my hair a sweet pink, which made Stacy laugh at me even more. And my dad was like, "Whoa, pink? That's for girls." Then on my 16th birthday, Stacy put black dye in my shampoo and ruined my whole look. I guess it was the stick that broke the camel's back, because I cried so horrible, to the point of not breathing, and I told my dad in front of Maria and Stacy what she had been doing all those years, along with my dad's awful remarks and subtly enabling Stacy's awful comments. In the end, he left Maria and Stacy because it was obvious there was no going back for me after that. He eventually married my now stepmom when I turned 20. My dad apologized, we talked about it, and a year after that, we attended therapy until I was 24. I don't like to talk about it, and I think it broke my relationship with my dad in a way we will never be able to fix. I know he doesn't have my back. Yesterday while talking, he tried to joke about it, and I said that I didn't want to remember it because I'll never forgive him for joining Stacy in her bullying. He said it couldn't be possible that I'm still holding a grudge. I said I am, and always will, because he broke my heart and confidence. He tried to argue, but my stepmom said he needed to let go because my feelings are mine. I still cry when I remember it, but he says I'm an idiot because he left them and made amends with me. Am I the idiot? I like your new stepmom. She's absolutely right that your dad needs to accept that he did permanent damage to the relationship. Pushing you to let it go is throwing salt on your wounds. All children with stepmoms should be lucky enough to have a stepmom like this. If there is any chance that OP's dad will realize the reality of his relationship with his daughter, I'm sure stepmom will support him and give him a loving shove should he get stuck in self-pity. OP's stepmom seems to really get it. I suspect it's no coincidence that OP and her dad attended therapy soon after stepmom joined the family. I'm sure she encouraged that step. Dad should have sought out therapy for his daughter during and after all the bullying from Stacy, which revealed his own neglect and emotional abuse. You are the idiot. When your dad realized what he had done, he did everything in his power, down to leaving his wife, apologizing, and going to therapy with you to make amends. At what point are you going to forgive him? Your feelings are indeed your feelings, and no one can tell you to let them go. But I think forgiveness is a big step to healing. And isn't it time you forgave your dad? I think ultimately, he did have your back, and he showed that by leaving your first stepmom. Broken trust is a very hard thing to repair. As for holding a grudge, hold that grudge, since what that really means is you're aware of and on guard against the behavior that hurt you the first time around. People use holding a grudge to invalidate someone's experience and unwillingness to allow it to happen again. Him saying let it go is only for him. He probably doesn't like to be reminded that his remarks and actions broke their relationship and made his daughter have a breakdown. I also don't believe that dad left them just for his daughter. I wonder what Maria did to him. My wife, Natalie, and I got married very recently. She's met my tween son from my former marriage, and she adored and embraced him instantly. Let me just say that I 100% knew that my wife loved and got along with him. Otherwise, we wouldn't even let this progress to the wedding. Let me give you some examples of her love for him. She decorated his room when we got our new apartment, paid for 2 of his trips, still gives him an allowance, besides what I give him, and always buys him stuff. The wedding planning was going smoothly and drama-free, because her mom is a literal saint. My mom is deceased. So there were no issues whatsoever, except that I found out that she had edited out my son for most of our wedding photos. At first, I was in a state of shock and really couldn't believe it was her and thought it was the idiot photographer who did this. But he told me that he did this based on her wishes and made her more copies as well. I couldn't hold it and I blew up on her and asked her what this was about. She calmly explained that the reason she did this was that she wanted some photos to be just about us two, which was BS because there were still family members that weren't cut out of the photos. She said I was making this a big deal and ruining the honeymoon over simple adjustments. She then proceeded to show me the unedited copies where my son still included, but I couldn't help but lose my temper because it felt like she was excluding him in a way. The argument escalated, and she wanted to call my son and ask him to show that he doesn't really care, but I told her not to do it and get him involved. She tried to call my mother-in-law, but I decided I won't risk getting into a fight with her about it and risk the mutual respect we have. She texted me, saying my wife didn't mean to exclude my son, and I should know that as a bride, she must have felt overwhelmed, and so I should be easy on her. I decided to cancel the rest of the honeymoon reservation and just go home. She hasn't stopped crying about it, saying I'm being awful to her for no reason other than wanting some pictures for just her and me, and that I keep forgetting everything she's done for my son so far. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she just wanted a photo of you two by yourselves, she could have asked for it on the wedding day. Even if she forgot or something, she didn't have to cut your son out of the majority of the photos and could have easily had what she wanted with just 1 or 2 photos. OP, she's finally showing her true colors. Protect your son. Excluding him from photos is the first step. Neither her nor her mother's excuses of wanting pictures of just the 2 of you, or her being overwhelmed, explain or justify her editing your son, and only your son, out of group pictures. Let this be a lesson that just because someone buys your child's acceptance doesn't mean they love him. She doesn't. She's willing to drop money, but she literally wants him erased from all the memories of the day you joined your lives together. You and your son deserve better. She held off her exclusion of him until right after you got married. Most wait a little longer. That's scary fast how she did a 180. She's been so nice to him because she knew she better to get that marriage license. She's got you now. So get ready for her to make plans for the 2 of you on weekends that you're supposed to have your son, getting pregnant fast and making you prioritize your new baby. Neglect your son for her. It's coming. I'm sorry you found out about her true colors only after the wedding. It is not too late for annulment. Always pick your child, OP. This isn't going to stop with the pictures. My husband and I have been playing squash for the last few months, once or twice every week. Recently, my friend Rebecca and her boyfriend Joe joined us too, and yesterday was their second time playing. I played 2 games against Joe and won both of them because I've been playing for much longer than he has. I saw that he was starting to get a bit angry after the first game, so I told him he was doing really good considering it's only his second time, but I didn't let him win the second game either. When he played with Rebecca after that, he acted rude and belittling toward her because she wasn't as good. When we got home, I asked them if they wanted to join us on our evening dog walk, and they said yes, but Joe seemed to be in a really bad mood. We walked for about 1.5 hours, which is a usual evening walk for us. During the walk, Joe was rude toward Rebecca, getting mad at her because she didn't know where we were, etc. The next day, Rebecca was all mad at me, saying that she had to deal with Joe's bad mood because I not only just won against him twice, but then I also challenged him on a walk. She said that I shouldn't have emasculated him because he took it out on her. I told her that Joe is an idiot and she should break up with him if he treated her badly. Rebecca says that I had to know that Joe would react like this, and I was deliberately trying to emasculate him because I don't like him. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Joe is a huge idiot, and not just because his ego is so fragile as to be threatened by a game of squash and an evening walk. It's also very gross how he's trying to make this into a gendered thing by saying you emasculated him. Does he think he deserves to win against you because he's a man? If you were a guy, would he have been happy to lose to you? Joe sounds mega insecure. You did your friend a favor by exposing, in part, the true nature of this guy. Who thinks a dog walk is a competition? I've never played squash, but I've played racquetball and tennis enough to know that it's a finesse game. This guy probably thought he could outplay you just by hitting the ball harder. What a sore loser. Why is this even a question? Joe lost 2 games of squash against a far more experienced player. Evidently, in Joe's world, the best female athlete is still worse than the worst male athlete. Joe is insecure and abusive, and you were right to advise Rebecca to break up with him. No one emasculated Joe except Joe. I, 45 female, have been a foster mom for 9 years now. The same boy, now a teen, has been in my care for 7 years. I've tried adopting him, but the situation with his birth mom is complicated, and it fell through. I consider him my son, though, in every way that matters. I also fostered other children, but for shorter periods of time. My son and I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. We each have a room, and there's a spare room, like a guest bedroom. During the global situation, my sister, 37, and her son, nearly adult, moved in with us. They've been sharing the guest bedroom, even though my sister said that the boys should share a room so she could have her own. I refused to change my son's life like that, and since they were only supposed to be temporary guests, I saw no need. My sister hasn't been looking for a job or anything. She kind of expected to stay here forever, I guess. 2 weeks ago, I started fostering another child, a girl, young teen. It's a longer period placement. A week before she came, I told my sister that she and her son would have to move out in 30 days, also the legal requirement for tenants. Sister begged me not to do this to her and said that the 3 kids can now share a room. We could both keep our own rooms and things don't have to change. I said absolutely the heck not. That's ridiculous. Then she said that at least my 2 foster kids could share a room and she and her son would stay in the same room. I said that I was not about to put a scared, anxious teen girl in the same room as a teen boy, because that's just crazy and unreasonable. She cried all the time for a week and begged me not to take this girl in. When this girl came, she, my foster kid, took my room and I stayed on the couch and will for another week until my sister and nephew move out. Yesterday, I came home from work and found my son upset and my foster daughter crying. I asked them what happened, and they said that my sister told them that they're just foster people and she and nephew are family, so they, sister and nephew, will stay, while they, foster kids, will have to leave. I lost it. I told my sister to have her stuff packed in a week, because if she doesn't disappear on day 30, I'm calling the cops and having her dragged out. She's been begging me to let her and the son stay for a while longer and make the stepkids share a room for a while, because otherwise she'll be homeless. Not the idiot. Your sister thought you'd let her stay after she traumatized 2 innocent teens is outrageous. Yeah, telling 2 foster kids that they'll be kicked out will make you change your mind and let her stay, right? What was her goal with this? She brought this onto herself. Don't let her blame you for being homeless when she has plans to take advantage of your kindness. She will continue to mooch off of you if you let her stay. Make sure to change the locks or get your key back if she has one, and be there when she leaves so that she doesn't try to steal anything. She is 100% mooching and taking advantage of OP's kindness. It was supposed to be temporary, but the sister's reaction makes it sound like she was planning on staying indefinitely and is mad that she couldn't. Change the locks regardless. I wouldn't put it past her to make a copy before she returns the key. She seems like the kind of person who would do that. Her homelessness is not your problem. I'm always blown away by the audacity so many beggars have, Like you have zero obligations to make sure your mature adult sister and her nearly adult himself son have a roof over their heads. It's a major kindness and morally right, but once she goes and acts and says crap like this, nope. All kindness comes to a stop, and you can figure out your own mess of a life. My mom died when my brother and I were really young kids. My brother is 20 now, and I'm 18, male, and just moved into a friend's house. Dad got married to Lisa and helped raise her 3 kids, and they had 2 of their own. One of Lisa's kids has a lot of complex medical issues, and 5 years ago was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Money was extremely tight. My brother and I had an uncle who would send us money for food and stuff for the 2 of us, but my dad's family wasn't able to help as much, and Lisa's mom is in a nursing facility, so she couldn't help. My brother and I were told by our uncle a few years ago that there was a savings account set up for both of us, and that it was money for us to go to college or buy homes with, and we'd have access to it in the future. He made us aware of the cash sooner in case we ever needed it. The account started with my mom and were the earnings she made from a family business she was part of. Then when my grandparents sold their business before they died, our mom's share was divided between my brother and me. Then our inheritance from them was added. My dad learned about the money when my brother could afford a car and move off campus and into a big house for 3 college kids. He asked and my brother told him he had some savings. He asked me about it directly, and I told him we had some money from our mom. I didn't tell him how much, but I figure he had a good guess because he went off on me. He said that money could have helped when Lisa's kid was fighting cancer and we needed money. He told me things were dire on more than one occasion, and they were getting food from charities because they didn't have money to pay. He asked how we could have been so selfish, and did we realize we could have paid for some trial they wanted Lisa's kid to undergo during the cancer fight. He said we could have told him about the money, and he could have used some of it to keep us all afloat and safe, and maybe have cured his stepkid's cancer. It all came down to me being selfish. Have to ask if he's right, because I feel bad about lying to my dad. It was just that my brother and I were taken care of by our uncle, and it felt wrong to use my mom and grandparents' money to pay for stuff for my dad's new family. My parents were in the process of divorcing when mom died, and her family didn't get along with my dad. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your mom left that money to you. It was not a bank account for the whole family. Yeah, it's tough that they had to get financial help, but that's not your fault nor responsibility. And did we realize we could have paid for some trial they wanted Lisa's kid to undergo? Full stop. I smell BS. For trial medicines, the treatment is free because it's medical research. I suspect OP's father is piling on guilt and lies to make OP give him money now. In fact, many medical trials pay you to be in them. Even if we pretend that everything he said was sincere, children are not responsible for the family's finances. They could have willed money to your dad if they wanted, but did not. Honestly, the father is the one being selfish here. Why is he putting this guilt on them? Why isn't he grateful his children don't have to scrape and struggle? It was not his first wife's job to fund his second family, and his kids shouldn't feel guilty for experiencing the loving legacy she left for them. Besides, he probably also had an inheritance from her, and he no doubt used it as he saw fit. I'm curious how much time, attention, and money he gave his children after starting family number 2. I have a feeling very little.